Bike packing, we need to have a chat. I kinda hate you. No, not really. I'd never actually say that, but I do get frustrated with it more often than I'd like to admit. So here are some of the biggest reasons why and how to deal with them. Let's get into it. My bike isn't made for this. This is probably the biggest reason to dislike bike packing even before you hit the trail. Packing up your bike, getting all of the gear dialed, and trying to fit everything for an overnight or a week-long trip or even a month-long trip is one of the most frustrating parts, especially on smaller frames. Luckily, bike packing gear really has come a long way. We now have durable rear rack systems, really well-designed bike packing bags, handlebar and frame bags that really maximize space, and lighter, more compact camping gear. Plus, sharing gear with others can make a big difference when riding in a group. Even with all of these solutions, though, you'll still sometimes run into space issues. So yeah, maybe the microwave just has to stay home. Well, still getting to camp. Let's just go 10 more minutes. I am sure we're going to find something, some really good campsite. How often have you all been in that situation? I mean, I think it happens at least once a trip for me. You're either riding a totally new route, find yourself nowhere near a good camp spot, or just don't like the ones you're passing. I've been there. And if I've learned anything, there are two ways to handle this. The first is to, stick to your itinerary, using routes and camp spots that have been vetted and are known, many of which are on BIKEPACKING.com. But let's be real, sticking to an itinerary while bike packing is like following a recipe from your phone for the first time. No way is it actually going to take 15-minute prep time, more like 30. Always double it. So when in doubt, sleep at the first good camp spot. Trust your intuition and play it safe. Riding along here in northern Minnesota, and look at all my friends. We're having a great time. Mosquitoes, flies, and midges swarming you. I mean, what is not to love? So becoming friends with these little insects is, nearly impossible, making them basically one of the biggest annoyances when bike packing, usually in the middle of the summer. From Scotland to the Midwest in the United States, they are unrelenting. Thankfully, there are a few things that can help. First off, long sleeves or lightweight layers have really come a long way. Bug nets, super cheap. Always bring them. They're a solid option. And I've had great success with spraying my clothes with permethrin before my trips. Oh, and apparently, biting insects like mosquitoes, they don't like dragonflies. So do what I did and clip a few to the brim. Or just go full mad scientist and start breeding dragonflies to follow you around as your personal security force. Yeah. That'll work, right? All right, so before we move along, I do want to take a quick moment to let you all know that this video is supported in part by Coros, the brand behind the Coros Dura Solar GPS bike computer. The Dura is a head unit that you might have seen on some of our videos, and for good reason. It offers an impressive 120 hours of battery life on one charge. In fact, I only had to charge mine once over a 6-month period. And if that wasn't enough, it features highly efficient solar panels on top, which make a noticeable difference in sunny conditions. With simple controls and intuitive navigation, it's perfect for bike packing or day rides of any length. So to learn a little bit more about this award-winning cycling head unit, you can click on the card in the top right corner, or else follow the link in the description below. So that 30% chance of rain, it sure did turn into a day-ruining downpour. Weather. It's always going to weather. And cherry-picking the perfect window isn't always an option, as many of us plan trips well in advance. But doesn't it just seem unfair when you head out for a weekend and get hammered by rain, especially when it wasn't in the forecast, or when you realize too late that flooding or wildfires have closed much of your route? I guess the upside here is, you come out of it not just stronger, but with proof that the expensive gear that you invested in is actually working. Kind of. The best part about weather, it usually passes, right? So when it's dark and gloomy, just remember it's only temporary, unless it isn't, in which case maybe start looking into arc building techniques or something. Yeah. What happened?
I just hit the rock pretty hard. And this descent. It's following the guy with full suspension. And
Flats, broken spokes, ghost shifting. Why can't this ever happen on a casual day ride? One of the biggest threats to sticking to an itinerary is stuff breaking. Your bike, your gear, your bags, and it always seems to happen at the worst possible time. A slashed tire, that rarely is a one-time fix. It often creates a chain reaction of headaches throughout the trip. Luckily, as long as your frame doesn't crack in half, there's almost always a way to limp out and get it fixed or fix it. We have loads of resources on our website, but really the best tool is preparation. Knowing basic repairs, bringing the right repair tools, and yes, maybe leaning on a friend who may know more than you is it's okay. I've never actually had to hitch a ride home due to a broken bike, even after, say, a seat pack had failed me, a tire was trashed, or a rim was cracked. There's almost always a way to keep moving. By day 3, I'm questioning every life choice that led me here. Yeah, bike packing days are often some of the longest in the saddle. And when you stack them back to back, maybe back to back to back to back to back, it can be mentally draining. So it's easy to look at a route page and underestimate, well, the length and overall difficulty. But here's the thing. You're in control. You set the pace, the expectations, the goals. You don't have to ride the 5-day itinerary in 5 days. Make it 7. You don't have to suffer, especially if you don't want to. Some days I love pushing myself. Other times, I just want to enjoy the ride. Take in the surroundings or even cut a portion of the route because I'm not feeling it. A half day or a 0 day or a spontaneous stop at a museum or a lake or a restaurant. Those decisions are yours to make. Remember, you choose to do this, so make it enjoyable.
We need to factor that. We need to factor that into the final blend. I'm not gonna do this on camera.
Oh man, my rear end is not doing too hot. Yeah, long days on the bike just don't wear you down mentally. They take a serious toll on your body. Sore legs, aching shoulders, swollen feet. Being uncomfortable on the bike is the fastest way to, well, not want to be on the bike. The solution, test your gear before the trip. Test that saddle. Put a few longer days in the saddle before your trip. Figure out what works for you and make adjustments as needed. That all said, discomfort is temporary, and usually your body adapts faster than you may think. And if all else fails, please reach out to me. Share what saddle you're using, because we've seen the weird saddles on the internet these days. Yeah, just go to a bike shop, measure your seat bones, and then buy a proper saddle that fits those seat bones. And if it's too spongy, I always just stay away from the too spongy. You don't want to sink in an inch, just a little bit. Yeah. Oh man, I can't fall asleep. Yeah. Some people just don't sleep well while camping or bike packing. Whether it's an unfamiliar tent, a deflated sleeping pad, or just being too wired from a full day of riding. A rough night can truly make the next day that much harder. Also, if you think you're hearing a rustling outside your tent at night, don't worry, it's definitely not a bear or a squirrel. One of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received was embrace the experience. Shift your mindset. The feeling of being out there is part of it. Of course, having a solid sleep setup is good. A good pad, a good bag, and even a pillow, a tent that you've used, things that maybe you feel comfortable in, maybe that you've used while car camping, right? And earplugs, I mean, these things can be lifesavers, especially if you end up next to a snoring friend. I swear it all fit yesterday. Why is it not fitting today? Yeah, that's me yelling to my friends at like 8 in the morning when I can't fit all of my gear. This is super frustrating, yet it's a very real situation where you pack your bike at home in a controlled environment only to find that after, well, your first night out, nothing seems to fit like it did. This happens all of the time, but it is avoidable. So the best pack job is the one that you've practiced over and over at home. So when you're cold or tired in the morning, packing just isn't as crisp, but that's okay. I always like to leave extra space in my bags, have that extra capacity, whether it's in my seat system, handlebar bag, or frame bag, so I have some extra flexibility there. The biggest thing to remember is if it fit once, well, it can fit again. So slow down, use your body weight to compress your gear, and well, trust the process. It all goes back in, trust me. Oh, so that fun-looking trail on paper turned into a soul-crushing uphill hike-a-bike with this tank of a bike. Yeah, I think we've all been there, or, well, some of us will at some point. Sometimes bike packing means getting off and pushing, whether you planned it or not. Let's put it into perspective. I actually can't remember a trip where I didn't have to hike, at least a little bit. Terrain is just harder with a loaded bike, often doubling its weight. So while some regions and routes may be a little different, don't let it get you down. It's usually, well, relatively short-lived and gives you a chance to use different muscles, see the landscapes from another perspective, and take a break from pedaling. Honestly, I see it as a good thing. Never be discouraged if you have to hike with your bike, next to your bike. It's part of the experience. Well, this was my lifesaver today. Thank you, cows. So many bike packers find themselves in one of two camps, carrying way too much water or desperately searching for the next source. So water management, let's just say it can be tricky. It's very tricky when you need to think about a full day of riding and then cooking food and then having water in the morning for your coffee, and then having water the next day until you get to your next water source. And then there's the moment you find that source only to realize it looks questionable. Yeah, you see this? Yeah, don't do what I did. It's not good. So over the years, I've learned that packing more than you think is usually the best call. That said, it is a tough decision. Water is heavy and extra weight makes everything more challenging. The key is, well, study your route, know your resupply points, and realistically assess how reliable those sources will be. Always carry two forms of filtration as well, like a pump and purification tablets, whether that's iodine or aquamira or what have you. A cloth is also super useful for pre-filtering out floaty or larger debris in those questionable situations before running it through your main filter. So a little planning certainly goes a long way in keeping hydration stress-free. And if you are looking for extra storage, use your resources. Your fork, top tube, down tube, or rack-mounted water is always great for additional storage. Hey, yeah, do you guys have an extra bar? I'm kind of out of food. Yeah. Overpacking or underpacking food? How do you find the right balance? Figuring out how much food to carry, well, it actually does take some practice. At BIKEPACKING.com, we often hear from folks who underestimate and, well, run out of food, which can seriously dampen morale. On the other hand, some riders carry, well, way too much, which, that's actually not a bad thing. I love when my friends carry extra candy for me. But here's the thing. When you're pedaling all day, your body quickly burns calories. So after the first day, you're usually running calorie deficient. So packing extra food is generally the smart move. Yes, it takes up space, but it also provides peace of mind. And let's be honest here, well, the more you ride, the more treats you get to enjoy, the more calories you're burning. So a bit of candy or some junk food here and there, your favorite snack, it kind of makes everything better. We ride to eat, right? Yeah. What's a Neil video without talking about poop? I mean, we all do it, but in reality, this is a serious issue that can lead to some very uncomfortable situations. especially while bike packing. So I don't know about you all, but I've trusted a fart while bike packing once, and whoo, I'm not going to do that again. Let me tell you. Let's just say I spent a few hours in a very like 10 hours in a very unpleasant situation. Then there's the reality of pooping in the woods or in certain areas, figuring out how to pack it out. Luckily, we have loads of resources on BIKEPACKING.com. We have leave no trace principles. We have awesome resources on how to poop in the woods and how to understand when you actually need to pack it out. Because yes, you do sometimes. And come on, let's be honest here. There's really nothing better than pooping outside. That fresh breeze, I mean, come on. It's hard to beat. So while all of these might be major headaches, especially if I'd say some of them happen together in a short period of time, I just always remind myself that, well, there is still nothing better than being out on a bikepacking trip. Living with the bugs and being in the rain and snow, or dealing with the headaches of packing your bike or hiking next to it when you didn't plan on it, or walking that fine line between carrying too much water and not enough food. So in reality here, the annoyances are short-lived, usually avoidable, or just take a bit more time and diligence. And well, the moment you get home, facing laundry, work, and all of the usual responsibilities, you realize that your slow-paced bikepacking trip with its little frustrations here and there was, well, ultimately a luxury. So that about does it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And if you want to help support everything we're doing on this YouTube channel, everything at BIKEPACKING.com, you can do so by joining the Bikepacking Collective. The Collective offers a lot of awesome perks, including industry discounts, monthly giveaways, the twice-yearly bikepacking journal, and Base Camp, which is all new, super exciting. And if you want to learn a little bit more about all of that, you can click on the card in the top right corner and also follow the link in the description below. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, pedal further.